There's a place online where the light doesn't reach, where men vanish into screens and something watches back. It's not the internet, you know. Not the one filled with memes, news, or harmless late-night scrolling. No, this is deeper, older, hungrier. Here, every click feels like opening a coffin, and every whisper behind your headset could be a real person, begging for their life. Tonight, we follow a chain of ordinary men, college students, boyfriends, and friends, whose curiosity dragged them into the darkest corners of the digital abyss. They thought it was just the dark web. They thought it was all a game, but what they found was a marketplace of human souls. And if you stay until the end, you'll see how a simple video call became a window into madness, and how the man behind the pig mask is still out there, watching, waiting for his next doll. Before we dive in, take a deep breath. This story isn't for the faint of heart. But if you're into real internet horror, the kind that blurs the line between screen and nightmare, then hit subscribe and stay with us till the end, because what you're about to hear isn't just another creepy tale. It's a true descent into digital darkness, and once you start, there's no clicking back. The night started like any other Thursday, quiet, uneventful, the kind of evening where the world feels too still to be real. Terrence sat in his dim apartment, a cup of stale coffee cooling beside his keyboard, while the glow from his monitor painted his face in cold blue light. His roommate was out again, leaving him alone with the soft hum of his desktop fan and the muted buzz of city life leaking through the window. He didn't know it yet, but tonight, he was about to meet something that would change him forever. He joined a group video call with 3 classmates, Eric, Craig, and Daniel. They'd been thrown together by their professor for a marketing project, and the mood was light, even friendly. Eric cracked jokes, Craig fiddled with his webcam, and Daniel complained about his slow Wi-Fi. It was the kind of harmless online chatter that fills empty hours. The clock ticked past midnight, and their conversation shifted from business to curiosity, from laughter to stories about the strangest corners of the internet. That's when Eric said it. "You guys ever seen the real dark web?" Silence settled in for a beat, the kind that stretches across wires and screens like static. Terrence smirked, assuming it was a setup for one of Eric's pranks. "Come on, man. The dark web's just hacker nonsense." But Eric wasn't laughing. His voice dropped an octave, quiet, almost reverent. "No, it's real, and I've been there." The others chuckled nervously, but Terrence noticed something in Eric's tone, something cold, certain, and heavy. Curiosity prickled in his chest like static before a storm. He should have left the call right then. Eric turned his camera off and began sharing his screen. A folder appeared, black background, a series of video files labeled only by numbers. "These are from a site called Homemade Dolls," he said, voice shaking with a twisted pride. "You won't believe what people do there." Terrence leaned forward despite himself, heart pulsing with a cocktail of fear and intrigue. He saw the thumbnail of a woman's face, pixelated and wrong, her eyes half open like she'd been frozen mid-scream. Craig muttered, "Dude, this isn't funny." Eric didn't answer. He clicked play. At first, nothing but static. Then the image came into focus. A dim, concrete room, a single overhead bulb flickering. A man stepped into frame, tall, broad-shouldered, wearing a mask. Not a Halloween mask, not cheap plastic. It looked organic. The pale, stretched skin of an actual pig. The snout was slick with something that caught the light. Behind him, a figure was tied to a chair, motionless. Terrence's throat went dry. "Eric, what the hell is this?" But Eric didn't reply. His webcam stayed black. The masked man tilted his head toward the camera as if he could see them through it. His breathing came through the speakers, deep, wet, deliberate. Then, in a distorted voice, he spoke. "Can you see me?" No one answered. Say yes if you can hear me. Terrence's mouse froze on the screen. The cursor refused to move. This is just a video, Craig stammered, but the man's head turned as if responding to him. Say yes. Terrence whispered it before realizing his mic was still on. Yes. The pig mask tilted, almost smiling. Good, the voice croaked. I just wanted to meet my next doll. The chained figure behind him moved, letting out a muffled scream. The sound was so real, so raw that Terrence's stomach churned. He slammed his laptop lid shut, but the audio kept playing. The pig man laughed, low and animalistic, a sound that clawed through the speakers like teeth scraping metal. Then the screen went black. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then Daniel's voice cracked through, trembling. Was that live? Terrence reopened the chat window. Eric was gone. Disconnected. His username blinked gray. The others began typing frantically, messages overlapping. Was that a stream? Who was that guy? Eric, this isn't funny. But no reply came. Then, as Terrence moved his mouse, a new message appeared on his screen. Do you want to play too? The message wasn't from anyone in the group. The sender's ID was a string of random symbols. He stared at it for a moment, his mind racing. The text pulsed, as if waiting for an answer. Before he could react, another line appeared. Say yes. His webcam light turned on by itself. What the? He covered the lens with his palm. Panic flooded his veins. He yanked the power cord from the wall, plunging the room into darkness. The next morning, sunlight felt unreal, like a bad filter over a nightmare. Terrence's inbox was flooded with messages from Craig and Daniel, all saying the same thing. Eric hadn't responded. His phone went straight to voicemail. Terrence tried to brush it off to believe that maybe Eric had staged the whole thing. But then came the email. No subject, no text, just an image attached. He clicked it open. It was a still frame from last night's video call. His own face frozen mid-scream. Behind him, in the corner of his dark room, a faint silhouette. A tall man in a pig mask. Terrence dropped his coffee, the cup shattering on the floor. He stared at the image until his screen dimmed. Outside, somewhere down the hall, a door slammed. He jumped, his pulse hammered like static in his ears. That night, Terrence refused to open his laptop, but at 2:47 a.m., his phone buzzed. Unknown number. He stared at it, half asleep, until it stopped. Then it buzzed again. This time, a message. You forgot to say goodbye. He blocked the number instantly, but new texts appeared one after another, each more disturbing than the last. Don't leave the call. You're next. Smile for me, doll. Sleep was impossible. Every sound in the apartment felt amplified. The pipes, the hum of the fridge, even his own breathing. By dawn, he was pacing. He went to Craig's place across town, hoping the others would laugh about it, say it was a prank gone too far. But Craig didn't answer the door. The blinds were shut tight. The only sound was the faint buzz of a computer from inside. 2 days passed before the police were called. When they finally broke down Craig's door, Terrence was there. The air inside was heavy, metallic. The monitor was still on, frozen on a single image. Craig's face, eyes wide, mouth open, a pig mask reflected faintly in the glass. Terrence felt bile rise in his throat. What happened to him? One officer asked. Another whispered, looks like he was streaming. By now, Daniel had stopped responding to messages altogether. Terrence called again and again until finally someone picked up, but the voice wasn't Daniel's. It was slow, low, and wet. Say yes if you can hear me. Terrence's phone fell from his hand. The line went dead. He locked himself in his apartment, unplugged everything, taped over the cameras. But deep down he knew. It wasn't over. 3 nights later, the knocking started. Soft at first, like fingertips brushing the wood, then louder, deliberate. He pressed his ear to the door and froze. Through the crack at the bottom, he saw them, bare feet, standing still. A man's voice came through the wood. You shouldn't have looked. Terrence didn't move. Open the door, doll. He backed away, grabbed the kitchen knife, his breath coming in sharp bursts. The doorknob twisted, stopped, then twisted again. I just want to see your face. Terrence stumbled backward, tripping over a chair. The footsteps faded, replaced by silence. He waited. Minutes dragged into hours. Finally, the sun broke through the blinds. The world was quiet again. He thought maybe it was over. But when he checked the peephole, there was something taped to the door, a photo. His own apartment, taken from the inside. The image showed him sleeping on the couch, knife clutched in hand. At the edge of the frame stood a tall figure, pig mask tilted, watching. Terrence's vision blurred. His body went cold. He tore the photo to shreds, but it didn't matter. It had already happened. He left town that morning, taking nothing but a duffel bag and his laptop. For months, he drifted. Motels, cheap bars, nameless roads. The nightmares followed him. Every dream began the same way. Static, laughter, the pig mask. Every morning he woke up drenched in sweat, convinced someone had been standing by his bed. Then one night, his laptop powered on by itself. The cursor moved across the screen, typing out a message without his touch. You can't run from the broadcast. He tried to shut it down, but the speakers crackled to life. A distorted voice whispered, "Smile for the camera, doll." The webcam light flicked on. The last thing Terrence saw before blacking out was his own reflection, wide-eyed, trembling, beside the faint outline of the pig mask in the dark. When he came to, he was in a motel bathtub, water-cold, his clothes soaked. On the mirror above the sink, written in what looked like ash, Episode 2 begins soon. He stumbled out into the hallway, the world tilting around him. His phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. Say yes if you can hear me. He dropped the phone and ran. Down the corridor, out into the night, the air sharp with winter. But even as his breath turned to mist, he could hear it. Faint laughter, carried on the wind. Somewhere, in a place beyond the surface web, a live stream started. A grainy feed. A man in a pig mask, speaking to an unseen audience. "Tonight's doll is special," he said, voice dripping with amusement. "He thinks he can hide behind the light." Terrence's image appeared on screen, running through the snow, eyes wild, looking over his shoulder. The viewers typed their comments. "Make him scream. Don't let him go." The pig man raised the camera, whispering, "Smile for me, doll." And somewhere, in the endless dark of the internet, a new file began to upload. Doll number 22. Terrence never made it home again. But sometimes, when the lights flicker during late-night video calls, if you listen closely, you can still hear it. A distorted voice, almost playful. "Say yes if you can hear me." The years that followed turned Terrence's story into rumor, a kind of ghost data passed between forums late at night. But among the men who'd survived that first broadcast, one name kept surfacing, Marcus Hale. Marcus had been a systems engineer by trade, clean record, quiet life, a man who lived in code more than conversation. But the day Terrence disappeared, Marcus received an unmarked USB in his mailbox. Black casing, no label. Inside, one file, doll archive 22.mp4. He waited a week before plugging it in, the anxiety gnawing at him like rust. The footage opened with static, then a woman swinging back and forth in a dimly lit room, the same song looping in the background, a slow, haunting lullaby. A male voice spoke from behind the camera. "Welcome home, my masterpiece." Marcus paused the video, but his screen flickered as if fighting him. The file played itself again. He muted the audio, but the words still echoed in his speakers, distorted, faint. He felt the sensation of being watched, not by a person, but by something inside the machine. Unable to sleep, Marcus began digging through the file's metadata. What he found wasn't a timestamp or an IP address, it was a location tag. Swing Sanctuary. The coordinates pointed to a defunct theme park 2 towns over, abandoned since the 90s. Curiosity turned into compulsion. He had to see it. At dawn, he packed a flashlight, a crowbar, and his camera. The park's rusted gates loomed ahead, the words, Master Swing Amusement, barely legible beneath years of decay. Every step echoed through the fog, the metallic scent of rot thick in the air. The first building he entered was the carousel, its horses half melted from time, their painted eyes gouged out. But what made his breath hitch wasn't the decay. It was the sound. A faint creaking rhythm, steady and slow, coming from somewhere deeper in the park. He followed the noise past derelict rides until he reached a row of swings, each one swaying despite the still air. The fourth swing carried something tied to it, a mannequin. But when his flashlight hit its face, Marcus froze. It wasn't plastic. The figure was male, mid-30s, his limbs crudely sewn back on. A pig mask covered his head, stapled to flesh. Beneath it, carved into his chest, were words written in blood. Master Swing welcomes all his dolls. Marcus stumbled back, bile rising in his throat. His foot hit something metallic, an old camcorder, half buried in the dirt. The tape inside was labeled Doll 2024. His hands shook as he pocketed it, heart pounding against his ribs. Somewhere behind him, one of the swings creaked louder. He turned, flashlight trembling in his grip. A man stood there, tall, wearing a trench coat soaked in mud. His face was hidden behind a mask, not of a pig this time, but of human skin, stretched thin, eyes stitched open. "You shouldn't have come here," the voice rasped. Marcus bolted. He ran through the park, the ground soft and uneven beneath him. The masked man didn't chase immediately. Instead, he called out, his voice echoing through the rusted rides. "Do you hear them? My dolls are waiting for you." Marcus dove into an old maintenance shack, locking the door behind him. Inside, the smell of oil and decay mingled. He collapsed to the floor, trying to quiet his breath. Then he noticed the wall, covered in photos. Men, dozens of them, each labeled with a number. At the bottom, a space was left blank, fresh tape already waiting for the next photo. Beneath it, in neat handwriting, Doll 25, Marcus Hale. His pulse surged. He tore the paper off the wall and stuffed it in his jacket. The lights flickered. Somewhere outside, the music started again. That same lullaby from the video, warped and slow. He realized the melody wasn't coming from speakers. It was being hummed. The humming grew closer, dragging steps accompanying it. Marcus spotted a rusted air vent above him and climbed inside. The metal groaned under his weight, his breath shallow as he crawled forward. The flashlight beam caught something ahead, another vent panel. Through its slats, he saw the man below. The masked figure was dragging something behind him. The mannequin from the swing, head dangling, one arm tearing loose with each step. "They all come home eventually," he whispered, voice cracked and wet. "They always do." Marcus waited until the man vanished into the fog before dropping from the vent and sprinting toward the exit. But when he reached the gate, it was chained shut from the outside. His hands fumbled, bleeding as he tried to pry it open. Then behind him, that voice again, calm, amused. "Leaving so soon, Doll 25? He turned. The man was closer now, the mask's eye holes empty, dark. Marcus swung the crowbar with everything he had. It connected with a crunch. The man staggered, then laughed. "Good. I like when they fight back." He lunged forward. Marcus swung again, cracking the mask. Beneath it, what he saw wasn't human. The skin beneath shimmered like melted wax, shifting, rebuilding itself. The man, or whatever he was, smiled. "You've already joined us." Marcus ran, heart pounding, lungs screaming. He ducked through a maintenance tunnel, the sound of footsteps behind him echoing like thunder. At the tunnel's end, A door. He kicked it open, only to find himself back at the swings. The fog was thicker now, and on every swing hung a figure, each one missing limbs, their heads tilted toward him. In the center, the largest swing held a throne of bone and chain. The masked man appeared beside it, calm, hands clasped behind his back. "Welcome home, Marcus." Behind him, a camcorder light flicked on. The red dot burned in the dark. "Smile for the broadcast." Marcus turned and sprinted toward the fog, his vision blurring. He didn't know which way he ran, only that the ground kept shifting. When he finally fell, he hit concrete. He was back in his apartment. His computer screen glowed, showing the live feed from his own camera. He stared at it in disbelief. In the corner of the feed stood the masked man, motionless. His phone buzzed. Unknown number. A message. "Say yes if you can hear me." Marcus stared, frozen, before replying with shaking fingers. "No." The screen glitched, lines of static racing across it. Then came the reply. "Then I'll make you listen." His speakers erupted with distorted screams, overlapping voices whispering the same phrase over and over. "Master Swing welcomes you home." Marcus tore the computer cables out, but the sound continued. He stumbled toward the window. Outside, across the street, every window glowed with the same red recording light. In each one, a man sat frozen in front of his screen, pig mask reflecting off the glass. He screamed, but no one heard. No one ever did. By morning, Marcus was gone. His apartment was found empty, his chair spinning slowly before a blank monitor. But on the screen, one new file had appeared. Doll 25, complete. And somewhere, buried deep within the dark web, the broadcast began again. The same voice whispered to unseen viewers, calm and certain. "Master Swing welcomes his new doll. Say yes if you can hear me."